In a time beyond memory, when the world was still quiet and full of whispers, there stood a city not carved from stone or brick, but from dreams themselves. Drifting on the edge of deserts and cradled by gentle hills where time moved like slow rivers, unhurried and endless. This city, once called Lorien by the stargazers and scholars of old, was said to glow faintly under the moonlight. Its streets lined with smooth pale stones that held the warmth of day well into the night, and its walls echoed with the murmur of wind-borne stories passed from traveler to traveler like precious gifts. In Lorien, the hours unfolded like silk. And those who entered forgot the urgency of elsewhere, instead finding themselves lulled into the rhythm of life where mornings began with the rustle of linen in shaded courtyards and ended with candlelight flickering through colored glass, casting slow-moving patterns on walls where vines curled like ancient script, telling tales of kings who ruled not with swords but with silence, queens who sang to the moon, and philosophers who believed that true wisdom lay not in answers but in the comfort of wondering. The market square of Lorien, shaped like a spiral shell, echoed with the clink of brass and soft laughter as bakers, bookbinders, spice merchants, and weavers shared space without haste, each stall perfumed with crushed petals, sun-warmed parchment, or the earthy scent of dried figs, and those who walked the market rarely bought much but lingered. Drawn by the slow storytelling of the lampmaker or the sound of the lute player whose strings seemed tuned to the heartbeat of the city itself, at dusk, the air thickened with warmth and calm, and the wide, low sky softened to indigo. Stars blinking slowly to life above the sandstone rooftops as the city entered its favorite hour, the hush between daylight and dreams, when even the fountains whispered slower and the cats stretched languidly on marble steps. Their eyes glowing like twin moons. Outside the city, the old road unfurled like a forgotten poem, leading toward hills etched with the footprints of wanderers and shaded by fig and almond trees. And if you walked long enough along its quiet bends, you would find the ruins of the observatory, a dome of shattered skyglass where once, long ago, the astral order mapped the movement of stars by the pulse of their own breath, believing the universe was a song and they were simply tuning in. And in that observatory, if you sat still in the hollow dome as wind combed through the tall grass and birds traced slow arcs overhead, you might hear that same song, soft, ancient, familiar, threading through your thoughts and lulling you toward sleep. For Lorien was a place not bound by maps but by memory, and memory is a gentle current, always flowing backward, carrying you through moments not as they were but as they are remembered, warm, weightless, forgiving, and those who left Lorien often forgot how they arrived or when. But they always remembered the feeling, like resting under soft quilts after a long journey, the air tinged with rosewater and dust, the sound of someone humming in another room, just faint enough to make you feel safe, it was said, by those who spoke of such things in quiet taverns or beside old fires, that Lorien could only be found by those who needed it not on purpose, but in pause, in the stillness between worry and waking, in the hush that follows sorrow, or the long exhale after tears. And when you closed your eyes in such moments, letting the world slip away like tidewater from your fingers, you might feel a breeze that smelled of jasmine and old books, and know you were close, in time. As centuries drifted past and the outer world spun faster, forgetting softness and slowness in favor of noise and numbers, the memory of Lorien faded from most minds, but it was never truly gone, for cities made of dreams do not vanish, they sleep, waiting for the return of those whose hearts remember how to listen, how to drift, how to rest. So now, as your eyes grow heavy and your breath deepens with the rhythm of all things gentle and true, allow yourself to return not to a place, but to a feeling, not to a time, but to the quiet between moments, and let Lorien rise again within you, not with trumpets or triumphs, but with the hush of dusk and the comfort of knowing that in some corner of the vast world, there still exists a city where time does not chase you, where the stars are always listening, and where your soul, tired from travel, can finally find peace. There is a place woven between the folds of memory and myth, where time does not move in lines but in quiet, endless spirals, and though no map shows the way, the soul recognizes its turnings like a song half remembered in the silence of night. It is a land where the earth breathes softly beneath moss-covered stones, where ancient paths curve through misted valleys, and where lanterns swing from branches heavy with the scent of jasmine, casting a golden hush over the world. And in that place, far beyond the noise and haste of modern life, lies a city forgotten by empires but remembered by dreams, its name lost to language yet echoed in the soft rhythm of rain on clay roofs. In the hush of parchment being turned by candlelight, in the creak of wooden floors beneath slow, thoughtful footsteps. For this city, though no longer marked by nations or ruled by kings, still exists in the collective stillness of the heart that longs to rest. Its streets are narrow and winding, flanked by ivy-covered homes with slanted walls and painted shutters. Their windows open to the quiet evening air that smells of lavender and wood smoke, and if one walks gently, they might hear the clink of glass from an old inn tucked beneath an overhanging balcony, where travelers of the past, poets and sailors and stargazers alike, once shared stories beside fires that never truly went out, only dimmed to embers waiting for new voices to stir them again. The city has no clocks, no calendars, no schedule beyond the sun's ascent and the moon's retreat, and in that absence of urgency, every hour expands into a moment worthy of remembrance, the baker who rises before dawn to knead bread that warms hands as well as bellies. The old man who sits beneath the banyan tree, whittling birds from cedar and humming songs no one has heard in 100 years, the children who run barefoot through olive groves, their laughter as light as the petals that drift from the almond trees in spring, and beyond the city, past fields where fireflies shimmer above sleeping crops, there winds a road known only to those who are not in a hurry. A road that leads not to a place but to a rhythm, the rhythm of breath, of thought, of dreams left to blossom slowly. And along that road sits the House of Echoes. A wide stone dwelling built into the side of a hill where travelers once left their memories carved into the walls, not with tools but with stories, whispered to the stones at night so that others who passed might feel less alone, inside. The halls stretch far and winding, filled with the soft rustle of wind through tapestries and the gentle trickle of water through carved channels in the floor, and in its deepest room, there is a pool so still it mirrors the stars even during daylight, for here, beneath layers of time and forgetfulness, the sky is always listening. It is said by those who remember the old ways that to sleep beside that pool is to remember everything you have ever forgotten, not as facts or timelines, but as feelings, sensations, glimpses of lives once lived or imagined, each more real than the last, and in that recollection, peace wraps itself around the soul like a soft blanket warmed by the sun. And though the city and its hills and the House of Echoes are unreachable by train or plane or even the most detailed satellite, they are not lost, they wait, patient and still, beneath the noise of the modern world. Accessible only when the mind grows quiet enough to listen, when the body becomes still enough to feel the subtle currents of memory that run beneath all things. And now, as you lie back, letting the day dissolve from your shoulders and the silence grow rich around you, you may feel the gentle pull of that place, like the tide drawing you from the shore, not quickly, not abruptly, but with slow insistence. as though the land itself remembers you and is glad for your return. And in this return, there is no need to explain, no need to understand how you came or why, only the comfort of being where the heart has always longed to rest. In a place without judgment, without noise, without expectation, where even the stars seem to breathe slowly, their light falling in long silver sighs over rooftops and garden walls, over sleeping dogs curled beside doors left ajar, over books left open on windowsills, their pages fluttering like wings in the night air, and as sleep begins to cradle your thoughts, softening the edges of the world and turning noise to murmur, light to glow, motion to stillness. You find yourself walking once more through that forgotten city, not with your feet but with your memory, with your longing, with your quiet hope that somewhere beyond the rush and blur, there remains a corner of existence untouched by urgency. A place where breath is slow, where moments are deep, where stories unfold like morning fog over hills, patient and beautiful and never needing to end. Here, beneath a sky of deep velvet and drifting stars, you need not move, need not speak. Only feel the soft presence of peace rising around you, and let your mind drift further into the glow of lanterns, the scent of old wood and honey tea, the rhythm of distant waves against forgotten shores, the weightlessness of letting go. Until even the idea of wakefulness feels far away, and all that remains is the dream, stretching on and on like a path lit by fireflies in memory, guiding you gently deeper into. Long ago, in a world not governed by hours or minutes but by the steady rhythm of wind through tall grasses and the subtle shift of shadows beneath ancient trees, there existed a region known not by name but by the feeling it stirred in the heart, a soft ache, like remembering something beautiful and long lost. This was a land of quiet hills that rolled endlessly into one another, each one cradling a secret, a story, a sigh, and in the middle of it all stood the remnants of a monastery carved into a mountain's embrace, its stones smooth from centuries of touch, warmed by sun and washed by rains that had traveled from oceans far away. The monks who once lived here had long since faded into legend, but the silence they left behind still hummed with their intentions, as if the very walls breathed in prayer, exhaled peace. And the air inside the ruins was cool and heavy with jasmine and old incense, wrapping around visitors like a cloak, like the arms of an old friend. Near the monastery, a narrow path wound downward through olive groves and apricot trees, whose fruit hung heavy, unbothered, ripening slowly under the gaze of a sky so wide and so blue that it felt like a lake of light above, stretching to eternity, reflecting nothing but calm, if one followed that path. Not with haste but with reverence, footsteps soft and eyes half-lidded in thought, they would come upon a village forgotten by trade and time, where doors were always left slightly ajar and windows welcomed the breeze like an honored guest. And in that village, life unfolded not in days but in feelings, in the comfort of hot bread placed gently into rough hands, in the rustling lullabies sung by mothers on wicker chairs, in the creaking of the old windmill that turned not for purpose but simply because it remembered how. There was a pond at the village's edge, small and glassy, ringed by cattails and visited by herons that never feared the people who sat nearby. Silent, letting their thoughts ripple with the water, the village had no name, or if it did, it had been spoken so softly for so long that the wind eventually carried it away, folding it into the larger hush of the world. Every home in that village had shelves filled with worn books, spines softened by time, pages thick with marginal notes and pressed flowers, and no one read them for knowledge anymore but for comfort. As if hearing a favorite story not with the ears but with the skin, the breath, the beat of the heart. In the evenings, when the light turned golden and the air grew heavy with warmth, People gathered beneath the largest tree, an elm so old its branches touched the roofs of 3 houses, and they sat in silence together, not because there was nothing to say, but because everything that needed to be shared was already known, already felt, in the shared hush of twilight, in the closeness of stillness. Sometimes, one of the elders would hum an old song, wordless and slow, its melody rising like smoke, curling gently upward into the fading light. And those who listened felt their own memories rise with it, memories not always of this life, but perhaps of others, of paths once walked, hands once held, eyes once closed beneath a sky not unlike this one. And when night came, it did so gently. Not with darkness but with softness, with the slow unfurling of stars and the appearance of fireflies who floated through the village like glowing thoughts drifting loose from the day. No one feared the night here, for it brought dreams as soft as rain and as deep as oceans, and every home had a bed placed near a window so the moonlight could enter like a blessing, like a whisper from some distant, ancient kindness that still remembered how to care. Sleep came not as escape but as return, and those who dreamed in this place did not flee from their waking lives but journeyed deeper into them, into the truths hidden beneath speech, into the quiet places of the soul where time stood still and forgiveness bloomed like white flowers in the dark, and beyond the village, farther still, past meadows where wild horses grazed freely and old stone markers stood like quiet sentinels of forgotten stories, there stretched a forest so vast it was said to hold every dream ever dreamed, layered one upon another like leaves, glowing softly in the moonlight as if remembering the warmth of the dreamer's heart. Travelers who entered the forest at night did so not with fear but with wonder, stepping gently along paths that shifted and reformed beneath their feet. Guided not by sight but by instinct, by longing, by that quiet call that comes only when the world has grown still enough to hear it, and deep in the forest's heart stood a clearing, round and wide, where the stars seemed to gather lower, closer, as if resting among the trees, and in that clearing lay a circle of stone seats, moss-covered and cool, said to have been placed there not by hands but by time itself, forming a place of remembering, of release, of rest. Those who sat there felt their thoughts slow, their breaths deepen, and the chatter of the mind soften until it was just a murmur beneath the leaves, like a stream far away, always flowing but never urgent, and in that peace, one could remember not just who they were, but who they had always been, before names, before noise, before the long journey through life's many rooms, and they would rise not changed but restored, as if sleep itself had kissed their brow and reminded them that they were not alone, not forgotten, not broken, only tired, only wandering, only in need of stillness. And now, as your own breath slows and the weight of day begins to slip from your shoulders, as your body sinks gently into the bed that cradles you, know that this place, this land between time and dream, welcomes you as it has welcomed all weary souls. With arms wide and hearts soft, offering you not answers or endings, but peace, soft and unbroken, where you may wander freely through fields of memory, through forests of thought, through the open doors of dream, and find within them the most precious gift of all, not escape, but rest, not silence, but stillness, not darkness, but the gentle, glimmering light of knowing you are safe, you are held, and you are home. Far beyond the edge of any known map, past the rolling sapphire oceans and the currents that hum lullabies known only to the whales and the wind, there lies a place so hidden, so quiet, that even the stars seem to tiptoe when they pass above. A place untouched by the ticking of clocks or the worries of names, where time lingers like morning mist and every breath of wind carries the scent of forgotten flowers and salt-kissed stone. Sailors once spoke of it in whispers. Eyes glazed with memory, calling it the Isle of Drift, a floating sanctuary cloaked in mist that only reveals itself to those who have wandered too far or perhaps just far enough, seeking not a destination but a moment of stillness. A harbor not on any map, but in the heart. It is said that the isle cannot be found by seeking it, only by ceasing to search, by letting the waves carry you when you are too tired to steer. By surrendering to the rhythm of the sea until you no longer distinguish the sound of your own thoughts from the hush of the water, and then, like a breath drawn in and held for centuries, the mist parts and there it is rising from the ocean like a memory given shape, with cliffs of soft silver stone wrapped in flowering vines, and shores lined not with sand, but with velvet moss and smooth glass pebbles that shimmer like stardust beneath your feet. A gentle harbor curls into the land, its waters so still they mirror the sky's slow turning, and moored there are no ships, only old wooden boats. Carved long ago by hands that no longer remember labor, their surfaces worn smooth by time, waiting not to carry you away, but to rock gently in place while you rest, while you breathe. While you forget the world you came from and remember only the sound of your own heart beating like oars against water. The air here is warm with a constant breeze that carries the voices of distant birds and the rustle of palm fronds, mingling with the soft chime of bells that hang from unseen branches, their tones low and slow, as if the wind itself is meditating. And in the center of the isle rises a hill shaped like a sleeping animal, curved and peaceful, with a path winding around it in long lazy loops, paved with stones worn round by bare feet and quiet journeys. And if you follow this path with no intention but presence, you will find yourself not climbing, but descending into a deeper kind of quiet, one that lives beneath the skin, beneath the story you tell the world, into that still center where no voices intrude and no questions linger. On your way you pass through groves of moon trees whose leaves glow softly even in the day, casting gentle light onto pools where koi fish drift like painted thoughts, and benches carved from driftwood invite you to pause. Not out of fatigue but out of reverence, to witness the stillness around you and the growing stillness within. And there are homes here, not built but grown, shaped from living wood and woven leaves. Doors made of woven reeds that part like curtains when you approach, revealing interiors filled with soft woven mats, low tables holding teapots always warm, cushions scattered like petals on the floor, and windows open to the breeze that knows no season. No one speaks here unless words are needed, and even then, they are slow and soft, like ripples in deep water, for silence is the language most understood, and presence the only gift that matters. The people of this isle do not ask where you've come from or why you are here, they see it in your eyes, in the heaviness you carry and the longing you exhale, and they offer no answers, only space, only peace. Only the gentle reminder that nothing is required of you now except to be, to rest, to listen to the ocean's old lullaby and let it rock you back to yourself. As dusk settles, the isle does not darken but deepens. The sky turning the color of plum and rose, clouds drifting like slow dreams overhead, and lanterns begin to glow from tree limbs and windowsills, their light golden and warm like memory, and the air becomes thick with calm, the kind that settles into the bones and makes even your breath slow to match the rhythm of everything else around you. Meals are shared in courtyards under vines, food simple and fragrant bowls of steamed rice, fruits sliced like jewels, herbs steeped in rainwater eaten not in silence, but in quiet companionship, where glances and gestures speak volumes, and laughter is soft, like the flutter of paper, and when night comes, true night. The sky blossoms with stars so dense they form a canopy, a galaxy of candles lit just for you, and you find yourself lying not in a bed but in a nest of soft blankets and pillows placed wherever you choose under the stars, by the water. Beneath the moon trees and above you the sky whispers lullabies in constellations, each one telling you that you are safe now, that the journey is over for tonight, that you may surrender. And you do, not because you must, but because you can. Because here, on this isle that exists outside time, outside pressure, outside the push and pull of expectation, there is no reason to resist the softness that beckons you, no need to brace yourself against the world. For the world is asleep here too, cradled in mist and melody, and your body sinks, slowly, warmly, like a pebble settling into the soft floor of a stream, not falling, but being received, and your thoughts begin to drift. Not like storms but like petals, and all the questions you carried are carried now by the breeze, and all the worries you bore are woven into the wind, and you are left only with the pulse of your breath and the calm of knowing that here, nothing more is asked of you than this: to rest, to release, to return to yourself, to the sea, to the stillness that has waited for you patiently beneath every rushing moment, and as you drift now, deeper into the night, deeper into the quiet folds of your own being, the isle remains, not as a memory but as a presence, a quiet lighthouse pulsing softly in the corners of your dreams, promising that peace is never far, that sleep is not an escape but a homecoming, and that even in the busiest of days, there will always be somewhere within you, some small shore or hidden harbor, where the mist still parts, where the lanterns still glow, where the waves still hum the old songs, and where your spirit can return again and again to rest, to be held, to be whole. Somewhere between yesterday and forever, there is a train that moves across a land so vast, so quiet, that the sound of its wheels humming over rust-warmed tracks feels less like motion and more like memory, a slow, continuous whisper winding through a sea of sand and light. And this train does not run on timetables or schedules but on rhythm, on the hush of the wind as it weaves through dunes like fingers through silk, on the pulse of the earth breathing beneath wooden sleepers laid down long ago by hands that no longer remember labor but still echo with intention. The desert it crosses is not barren but full of space, of warmth, of slow-turning skies that bleed from gold to rose to the deep blue of evening, of stone towers shaped by wind and time, of dry riverbeds that remember water like a song remembers its singer, and through it all this train moves, unhurried, pulling carriages of wood and brass that shine softly in the low sun, their windows wide open to the warm breeze and the ever-changing colors of sand, ochre and rust and silver under moonlight. And in one of those carriages, near the center of the train, there is a seat by the window where someone has settled, not traveling to arrive but traveling to drift, their body reclined against a velvet cushion, breath slow, eyes half-lidded as the world slides gently past. Not like a film but like a painting being slowly unrolled. Inside, the air smells faintly of old books and orange peel, of dust warmed by sun and cooled by twilight, and a soft lamp glows from a corner table where a teapot rests. Steam curling upward like a thought rising from deep sleep. No one speaks here unless spoken to, and even then, voices are soft, as if not to disturb the hush that hangs like a veil across the cabin, broken only by the creak of the wood and the distant cry of a bird following the train for a time before veering off into the sky. In this space, time melts like sugar in tea, sweet and slow, and the landscape stretches in all directions, endless and knowing, dotted with shapes that may be ruins or may be dreams, distant outlines of forgotten towers or rock formations sculpted by centuries of quiet wind. Sometimes, as the train passes through a shallow valley, the shadows stretch long across the dunes and flicker through the windows like the fingers of some gentle spirit playing across your thoughts, and you feel the weight of your breath settle deeper into your chest. Feel your thoughts loosen their grip and drift like the sand outside, caught in gentle spirals, no longer racing or clinging, just floating. The train makes no announcements, no stops, for there is nowhere to be but here, no need to go but within. And as the sky deepens into twilight, the stars begin to appear, not suddenly but softly, one by one, as if waking from their own long sleep, and soon the desert is wrapped in a blanket of indigo and silver. Lit by a moon so low and large it feels close enough to touch, and still the train moves, steady and sure, a lullaby of motion, of warm wood and worn metal, of time stretching outward instead of forward, in another carriage. Someone plays a soft melody on an old piano, its notes drifting through the corridors like candlelight, curling into corners, filling the air with a kind of nostalgia that doesn't ache but comforts. Reminding you of something you once knew but didn't know you missed, maybe a sound, a color, a scent carried on a breeze from a place you've never been but somehow remember. And in this remembering, something inside you softens, like ice melting under morning sun, and you realize you are not alone, not truly, for everyone aboard this train is drifting too, carried gently toward a destination that is not a place but a sensation, a softening, a letting go. And as the hours slide past like clouds, the landscape changes gently, subtly, shifting from sand to stone, from rolling dunes to flat open plains where tufts of pale grass sway in the moonlight and old telegraph poles stand like sentinels. Their wires humming with echoes of messages no longer sent but still felt, vibrations of longing, of farewell, of hello. And in the quiet of the cabin, your eyelids grow heavy not from fatigue but from peace, from the sheer gentleness of the journey. And as you rest your head against the side of the seat, the wood warm and smooth beneath your skin, you feel your breath sinking with the motion of the train, that subtle rock and sway, like being held, like being cradled by time itself. And just outside the window, the desert continues to dream, to breathe, to wait not for change but for understanding, for presence, and you find yourself drifting too, not away but deeper, into the rhythm, into the hush. Into the space between thoughts where the only sound is the heartbeat of the rails, the soft hum of everything in motion but nothing in hurry, and in this stillness you discover that you are not lost, not late, not needing to arrive anywhere. Because you already have, in this moment, in this breath, in this warm cocoon of wood and brass and stars, and as the night deepens and the moon climbs higher, the train begins to ascend gently into a stretch of land so elevated and still that the stars feel even closer, so close you imagine the train might lift from the tracks and float among them. A slow-moving constellation tracing a forgotten path across the sky, and in that imagination, in that possibility, you let go completely, releasing not just tension from your limbs but weight from your thoughts. Allowing your mind to stretch out like the plains outside, wide and open and unburdened, and your last waking sensation before sleep finds you is the sound of the train's wheels moving steadily forward, not toward an ending but into forever. A forever made of velvet darkness and glimmering light, of dreams shaped like landscapes and breath shaped like stories, and you, a quiet traveler within it all, carried softly through the night.